Hello, I'm Bill Palanuk, local radio personality and television host and a landowner in Billings County, North Dakota. And we are here at the studios of Consolidated to update you on, well, since the last time we got together, which was just before construction season was about to begin, we are asking landowners south of Belfield to please get their easements into Consolidated so the fiber project for 2023 would begin. And we are here today to bring you a little more optimism and a little more great news as we visit with CEO Bryan Personne. Bryan, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What has transpired since the last time we got together?
All kinds of things. So we finally were able to get all the easements we needed. We were able to get a contract executed with MP Next Level. And construction actually has begun. Last week, we had boring crews out in the area starting to do road bores, and we're about a week out from the plow crews starting to plow the fiber in. And so we are on the road. We're going to get the south done. We are getting a late start. We were hoping to start by June 1st. And as you know, I mean, today here we said, tomorrow's August 1st. So we're late getting started. I would expect that probably we will get probably 80% of what we hope for done this year. The south area is roughly 200 miles of fiber work, and because of the late start, I'm thinking that we'll probably get about 160, maybe 150 miles of that done before freeze up. The contractors will work until the ground is unworkable. And so as long as they can keep moving forward, if we get lucky and we have one of those falls where the ground doesn't freeze hard until after Thanksgiving, they'll work all the way up to that point. But if it freezes early, that'll obviously mean the end of construction season. So they'll work, they'll get as much done as they can, and then they will come back right away in the spring and pick up where they left off. And then once the south is completed, assuming that we have all the easements that we need, they'll roll right into the north.
Okay. Good news. I don't know
Absolutely.
if you follow but El Nino and the La Nina patterns, it sounds like we're going to have a warmer winter. Of course, that is subject to change, but a little optimism there as well. So essentially, will anybody in the South Project get hooked up this year?
Yes. So what will happen is this, construction for fiber, it's in stages. So they'll do the groundwork where they put the actual fiber in the ground. Once those routes are completed, then a splicing crew comes in and splices all of that network together from the end user all the way back to the office in Belfield. And we've actually set up a second building at our central office location in the town of Belfield to serve the rural areas. That building's actually sitting there today. And so they have to splice that fiber all the way back to that building, and then they light test it to make sure that it works. Once that's done and we get testing results, then it's turned over to us for what we call conversions, and that's where our technicians would go to the home and install the device on the outside and then install devices on the inside, assuming that the customer wants to take service from us.
A word that I heard often in this process, two words actually, workaround. Does that mean essentially that you didn't get an easement in a certain part of the territory, and so you found a way to work around that? How does that work?
Well, I mean, as we're working through those easements, okay, so we have a design that we start with, and we try to get the easements to make that happen. But any place that we run into an area where we can't get an easement, we start trying to figure out, is there another way to get to these customers coming from a different direction? Can we hop in, come from the east, come from the south, come from the north? If we go back a mile and come over and then down? And in this particular project, we had numerous workarounds that we put into place. As we were rolling forward and people were unwilling to sign easements, we just found ways to get around them. Now, luckily, in the south, there were some areas where no workaround is possible. There's one road in and one road out. And so if you can't get the easement, there's no way to get to that person. And thankfully, we were able to not have any of those make or break issues pop up on us. We were able to get to everybody.
Can you say that those who want internet will be getting internet south of Belfield?
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful.
Absolutely. If they want it, they'll be able to get it. So back to that construction schedule, I don't want to like give a false sense of when this is going to happen. So all of those things that I talked about, construction, fiber splicing, testing, and conversions, it takes quite a while to make all of that happen. Realistically, I would expect the first of the year would be when people would start to have the ability to sign up for service, because it'll take that long. So in Dickinson, and we've been doing fiber overbuilds in Dickinson, that's normal business for us. And so we build all summer long. They do the splicing and the testing in the fall, and then we start conversions right around, sometimes in December, but most of the time right after the first of the year. And then we spend January, February, March turning those new customers up onto the new facilities, and then it's time for another construction season. We start over again, and we just keep moving.
Okay, so the South is underway. It's in motion. What are you anticipating for the North project? Slated to begin in 2024, about the same time, spring of 2024. What are you hearing? What are you anticipating?
You know, what I'm hoping is this, is I'm hoping that as people see work starting in the South, that those easements start rolling in. At this point, there's a little over 400 easements needed in the North. So far, we've gotten about 50 to 60 of those back. What I would consider to be a pretty good response just from mailing people an easement in the mail and not actually having guys go out and meet with them personally at their farms to talk about it.
Which is what you did in the South, yes.
And that's, I think that's why we were successful at the end, is because we had a couple town hall meetings, we talked to people about it, and then our guys just started jumping in trucks and driving out and trying to reach these people that we hadn't heard from. And that way they're able to sit down with them at a table, go through the easement document, answer any questions they have. If they want to go out and walk the route to see kind of what we're proposing, there's somebody there to do that with them. And then also those guys are notaries. And so assuming that we can reach an agreement, they're able to notarize the documents right there. Very successful in the South. It helped us button that up. And we will be doing the same thing in the North. Right now, we're just getting all of those things mailed out. I think of the 400, I think we still have about 100 yet to be mailed. But once they've all been mailed, then that process of, boots on the ground type process will begin.
I'm a landowner in Billings County. I'm living on acres that my grandfather homesteaded, and about the end of 2008, it became known that rural water was coming to our area, and we got to thinking about that. Simultaneously, we were contacted by Consolidated to sign an easement for internet. That whole process prompted me to rebuild on that property with the thought of having water and internet, because my business relies on reliable internet. I figured an average of a 50 gigabyte upload every week to do what I do. That is my livelihood. And so when it fell through back in 2009, 2010, it was met with such disappointment. I couldn't believe that that was happening. I couldn't believe people weren't going to sign the easement. And to do what I do, I have to rent an office about 20 miles from where I live so I can have access to internet every week. Now, with the possibility of internet coming in 2024, it looks like it's going to. I cannot tell you how excited I am for that. Speaking of that, I got a letter in the mail, sir. I want you to explain this for me. It came from Consolidated, and the first thing that I saw when I opened it were these two maps. What am I looking at?
Okay, so what they sent you is a visual of the proposed route on your land. And so these highlighted areas where the green is, that's where our fiber will be buried. And then you can see this little stretch is the drop from the road to your home.
Okay.
And the idea behind sending you this is so you see visually what we're asking you to sign the easement for, that's described in words.
Okay. You're coming right up the road. This is the road next to my house. There's, like you said, that's where I live, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains that. Then we've gotten the easement. Explain what that is.
Well, basically, easement's like any other land-related transfer document. it describes with specificity where the easement's going to be located, and it tells you how wide it is, post-construction and pre-construction. We need a little bit more temporary use when we're putting it in, but then once it's in the ground, the easement shrinks back down to just a 10-foot wide strip on either side of that fiber. That way, in case we need to get in there, say somebody hits it digging a post hole or something like that, that way we can get in there and do a repair on it. And you know, like any other easement, it has all of the legal verbiage in the beginning about who's granting and and who's going to get it. And then more or less on the back there, as the grantor, the landowner, there's a place for you to sign and have your signature notarized.
That's the same conversation if somebody drove into our yard in a consolidated vehicle, an engineer who is also a notary. This has to be notarized. They would have that same conversation with the landowner, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that way, if they have any questions about anything that's in here, there's somebody there that can, answer those questions in a way that they'll understand it. Not everybody has the ability to read through these things and understand that. And so sometimes it takes a personal visit,
right,
a conversation, for somebody to feel at ease with what they're doing.
A person could also make an appointment by calling 483-4000 and tell them that what their intentions are, and they can come in and have the same thing explained, correct? Okay.
Either way, we can do it. We want to make it as convenient as possible. And so if somebody wants to come here to Dickinson and meet with one of our engineers, all I would ask is call ahead of time, talk to Mike, Tony, one of those guys, and or Nick, and ask for a little bit, like, could we meet at 1:30? Just set up a time. And the reason being is this: they're not just sitting in the office waiting for people to show up. They're out in the field doing work. So that's one option. The other option is, as we move forward with this, we're going to start going property to property and talking to people. And so there's a very good chance that before you make it to town, somebody will actually show up and just say, I'm here to answer any questions you might have about it. What do we need to do to get moving forward on it?
The first time that we signed this, the land was owned by my mother, who passed away in 2020, and now I'm the landowner there. And Mr. Personne, may I ask Karen, your notary, to step in? I am so thrilled to sign this easement today. Okay, just sign my name and okay.
Correct.
All right.
You can date it.
Is that the date?
Yep, July
Okay.
21st.
7/31/23. Okay.
And the guys that make the visits out at the homes about easement-related issues, all of them are notaries. And so this process that you're doing right here can happen at somebody's kitchen table.
Okay.
They don't have to drive to Dickinson for this. We're happy, and if it works better for them to call the office and say, hey, can you send somebody out to my house at this time on this day so we can sit down and talk about this, we're happy to do that too. Whatever it takes to get it done.
Thank you, Karen.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
There's also a stamped envelope. I'll give you that back. You can take it off
Okay.
my bill, okay?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. I am so excited that reliable internet is coming to the North Belfield area. South Belfield, congratulations. As Bryan said, later this year, early part of next year, you can start getting hooked up, and that means so many things to so many people. Our livelihoods depend on it. It's 2023, soon to be 2024. It's how the world works now, with reliable internet. Along with, we've been focusing on internet, but there's also phone services and cable television that will be available as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The cable TV, we'd love it if people would sign up for it, but it's not a necessity. I mean, there are lots of people that have satellite dishes and things like that. We have a good product, and we hope people look at it. But, one of the things that became apparent during the process of doing the South, there's lots and lots of people in the South that don't have reliable phone service. Talked with several of them at town meetings. They don't know when they pick up their phone if it's going to work or not work. And just as important as the internet is for being part of the world economy and moving us, into the future, the fact that there are people that can't call for emergency services, that needs to be addressed as well. For me, that communication feature is just as important as the internet piece of it. There are people there that don't have, if something happens, they have no way to reach anybody. And they don't have, you know, in some of those areas, it's so remote that cell service doesn't work either. And so they literally have nothing. And so telephone's just as important, I think, for some of them as the internet.
Okay.
So.
Bryan, as we wrap things up here today, is there any question that I haven't asked? Any information you'd like to share with our viewers today?
No, what I would encourage people to do is this, what I've kind of heard through the grapevine is that a lot of people in the north are holding on to their easements until they actually see something happen in the south. Because up to 3 weeks ago, we're in the middle of summer and there's no activity. And so I think people are just like, yeah, I'm gonna kind of wait and see. Here's what I would tell you, it's happening. If you don't believe it, jump in your truck and drive down there. There are crews working, and that's just gonna get busier. And so during the month of August, there's going to be all kinds of things going on. You're going to see plow crews running. You're going to see boring happening. So if you're holding off, waiting for something to happen, which I fully get, you can drive down and actually see for yourself what's happening. The other thing is, with lots of concern in the south about the type of scar that's left from this type of work, now you're going to be able to drive down and see that 3 to 5 inch scar that's left by a fiber plow, and know that it is not a 5 or 6 foot wide trench. It's a completely different process. And I mean, I think that that's going to make a huge difference. Because in the south, all they had was me telling them it's going to be okay. I'm telling you it's going to be okay, and I need you to trust me. But now what I'm telling everybody in the north is, you don't just have to trust me, trust your eyes. Drive down and see what's happening down there. And I think that when people see that, when they see the impact is low, that we're staying as close to the roads as we can, and that there's actually work in progress, what I'm hoping is that by September 1st, that we've got 80% of the easements needed for the north area, and then we can focus on that last 20%, and if we have to do some workarounds, we have some time. But what I'd like to see is that by January 1st, we have everything that we need so I can sign a contract for the north, and that way construction actually starts right away in the spring. As soon as the ground thaws, we're already tied in with a contractor. He doesn't take other work waiting for that to happen, which is what happened in the south, basically. It took us so long to get to the point where we could sign that the contractor took other work in the interim waiting for us to sign a contract with him. That's why we got a late start, and what I'm hoping is we can avoid all of that and hit the ground right away in the spring next year.
Okay.
And so,
trust you. That
well,
you're asking.
I'm not asking anybody to trust me. What I'm telling you is, I would hope that you would trust me, but you can trust yourself. Trust your eyes. If you want to see what this is like, what's going to happen, and what the impact is, go down and check it out. See what the work that's being done. There'll be 160 miles of it done this summer in the south area. That's a lot of ground for people to look at and go, you know what, that's not a big deal.
I've been the media director for the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame going on 8 years now, and I can tell you that on behalf of Rick Thompson, our executive director, and everybody at the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, we trust the history of the great state of North Dakota and projects that Consolidated does for us. And I can tell you that you can trust these people. They are amazing. I am so glad to be associated with Consolidated in the small role that I play. Bryan Personne, the CEO of Consolidated, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your work thus far, and let's just keep our foot on the gas, shall we?
Absolutely.